Hello everyone and welcome to a humorous lesson about a person who gets very nervous when he enters into a bank. The title of the lesson, My Financial Career. My financial career. When I go into a bank, I get rattled. The clerks rattle me, the wickets rattle me, the sight of money rattles me, everything rattles me. The moment I cross the threshold of a bank, I am a hesitating jay. If I attempt to transact business, there I become an irresponsible idiot. I knew this beforehand, but my salary had been raised to $50 a month, and I felt that the bank was the only place for it. So the author says that when he goes into a bank, he gets rattled or nervous. The clerks or the people who keep records in a bank, they rattle him or make him nervous. The wickets or windows or openings through which we transact business with the clerks, that makes him nervous. The sight of money rattles him, and everything in the bank makes him nervous. He says that the minute he crosses the doorstep or the entrance or threshold of a bank, he becomes a very foolish person, a hesitating jay. And he says that when he attempts or tries to do business in a bank, he becomes an irresponsible idiot. And he knew all this beforehand, but because his salary had been raised to $50 a month, he felt that the bank was the only place to put that money. So I shambled in and looked timidly around at the clerks. I had an idea that the person about to open an account must needs consult the manager. I went up to the wicket-marked accountant. The accountant was a tall, cool devil. The very sight of him rattled me. My voice was sepulchral. "Can I see the manager?" I said, and added solemnly, "Alone?" I don't know why I said alone. "Certainly," said the accountant, and fetched him. The manager was a grave, calm man. I held my $56 clutched in a crumpled ball in my pocket. So the author walks awkwardly, very slowly into the bank and looks, a little nervous all around at all the clerks working there. He had an idea that, I want to open an account and therefore I must consult a manager. So he went to this window or wicket marked accountant. Now the accountant was a tall, cool looking person. And because he looked so confident, the sight of the accountant also made the author more nervous. And his voice was very dull and, boring and little serious. So he asked in that voice to meet the manager. And he added the word alone. And he doesn't know why he said the word alone. So the accountant says, "Okay, I'll bring you the manager." He goes and fetches or brings him. Now the manager was a grave or very serious, calm man. Here the author was nervous, clutching. You see the how the person has clutched money here, held tight. But his money was not in his hand, it was in a crumpled ball in his pocket. "Are you the manager?" I said. God knows I didn't doubt it. "Yes," he said. "Can I see you?" I asked, "alone?" I didn't want to say alone again, but without it the thing seemed self-evident. The manager looked at me in some alarm. He felt that I had an awful secret to reveal. "Come in here," he said, and led the way to a private room. He turned the key. "We are safe from interruption here," he said. "Sit down." We both sat down and looked at one another. I found no voice to speak. "You are one of Pinkerton's men, I presume," he said. So now the manager comes, and because he is nervous, he is asking, "Are you the manager?" He didn't doubt it, but still nervousness makes a person act very funnily. So he asks him, "Can I see you?" And he adds that word alone again. He didn't want to say alone because it's not necessary to meet the manager alone. But again, when you are nervous, when you don't know what to do, you speak anything. Now the manager looked at him in some alarm. He was a little afraid. He felt that the author had come to tell him some terrible secret. So he says, "Come here." He takes him into a private room. He turned the key, means he locked it, and he said, "Don't worry, nobody will interrupt here." And they sat down and looked at one another, but the author could not speak. So the manager says, "You are one of Pinkerton's men." Now, Pinkerton is a detective agency established in the USA or America by Alan Pinkerton in 1850. So this is a story of that time. That's why the amount of salary is only $56. Dollars is the currency used in the USA. Okay. So the manager thought that he is come as a detective, a person who investigates crimes. So the manager was a little alarmed. What makes the narrator nervous at a bank? The clerks, the wicket, the sound of money, everything in the bank makes the narrator nervous. What word should he have avoided in his request to see the manager? The word alone. Why was the manager alarmed? He was alarmed because he felt that the narrator had a bad secret to tell him. Who did he think was his visitor? He thought that his visitor was a detective from Pinkerton's agency. He had gathered from my mysterious manner that I was a detective. I knew what he was thinking, and it made me feel worse. "No, not from Pinkerton's," I said, seemingly to imply that I came from a rival agency. "To tell the truth," I went on, as if I had been prompted to lie about it, "I am not a detective at all. I have come to open an account. I intend to keep all my money in this bank." The manager looked relieved, but still serious. He concluded now that I was a son of Baron Rothschild or a young gold. "A large account, I suppose," he said. "Fairly large," I whispered. "I propose to deposit $56 now and $56 a month regularly." Now, the manager had gathered, or he thought, from the strange, weird behavior of the author that the author was a detective, a person who investigates. The author knew that the manager was thinking that he is a detective, so he was feeling worse. So he says, "No, I'm not from Pinkerton's," suggesting that he came from some other agency. But he continues to say, "To tell you the truth, I am not a detective. I have only come here to open an account, but it is my intention to keep all my money in this bank." See how he uses all my money. So the manager looks very relieved that he is not a detective, but he is still serious. But now the manager feels that because he said the word all his money, that he is the son of Baron Rothschild or the son of Mr. Gold. Now these were the top finance people in those days, very wealthy people, like how we have today Tatas and Ambanis. So those days they had Rothschild and Gold. So now he feels this is the son of a Rothschild or a Gold. So he says, I think it's a large account. So he says, whispering now, because he knows he's made a mistake by saying the word all. He says, "Fairly large. I propose to deposit $56 now and $56 every month." The manager got up and opened the door. He called to the accountant. "Mr. Montgomery," he said unkindly loud, "this gentleman is opening an account. He will deposit $56. Good morning." I rose. A big iron door stood open at the side of the room. "Good morning," I said, and stepped into the safe. "Come out," said the manager coldly, and showed me the other way. I went up to the accountant's wicket and poked the ball of money at him with a quick convulsive movement, as if I was doing conjuring trick. Now the manager got up. He opened the door and he was annoyed now. He thought that he is going to give him a big amount of money when he used the word all. But it turned out to be only $56. So he gets up, he calls loudly, "Mr. Montgomery," the accountant, Come here, he says. This man is opening an account and he will deposit $56. And annoyed, he says, good morning, and he goes from there. Now, the author rises or stands up, and in his nervousness, there was a big iron door, okay, something like this at the side of the room. Not knowing it is the safe or the vault where all money is kept there, he steps into that. That is what nervousness makes you do. You do everything wrong. The manager very coldly, now he's very upset. He says, come out, go through the other door, and he sends him through the other door. So then from there he goes to the accountant's window and he takes out that ball with very jerky, uncontrolled movements, and he just pushes the ball of money in front of the accountant as if he is doing some trick. Conjuring trick means magic trick where your money disappears or whatever. My face was ghastly pale. Here, I said, deposit it. The tone of the words seemed to mean, let us do this painful thing while the fit is on us. He took the money and gave it to another clerk. He made me write the sum on a slip and sign my name in a book. I no longer knew what I was doing. The bank swam before my eyes. Is it deposited? I asked in a hollow, vibrating voice. It is, said the accountant. Then I want to draw a check. So the author's face was pale. Something pale is when you feel giddy and you feel that you're going to faint. Your lips and everything become whitish in color. So there was that horrible look on the author's face because he was so nervous and doing everything wrong. So he says here, deposit it. Deposit means put into the bank. But his tone of voice seemed to say, come on, let us finish this work as soon as possible. He took the money and gave it to another clerk. And the accountant made him write the name on a slip and sign his name in a book. But the author had no idea what was going on because it looked like the bank was swimming before his eyes. Then he asked in a hollow, very nervous, vibrating kind of voice, is it deposited? The accountant said, yes, it is deposited. He says, then I want to draw a check. Draw means now I want to take money out with the help of a check. And this is the example of a check. My idea was to draw out $6 of it for present use. Someone gave me a checkbook through a wicket and someone else began telling me how to write it out. The people in the bank had the impression that I was an invalid millionaire. I wrote something on the check and thrust it at the clerk. He looked at it. What? Are you drawing it all out again? He asked in surprise. Then I realized I had written 56 instead of 6. I was too far gone to reason now. I had a feeling that it was impossible to explain the thing. All the clerks had stopped writing to look at me. So now the idea of the author was to take out $6 from 56 for use, daily use. Okay. Now, if I give you an example of, say, you going to the bank to put 200 rupees into the bank. Okay. And you know that when you come out of the bank, you have to buy a book costing 50 rupees. I'm sure you will use your common sense and deposit only 150 rupees in the bank and keep 50 rupees because you know you have to spend it. But the author had no common sense left because he was so nervous. So he deposits all the money and now he wants to take out $6. Now the people in the bank were all looking at him, in wonder, thinking that he is an invalid or a cancelled millionaire. Meaning that he used to have money, but now he doesn't have any money, so he doesn't even know how to write on a check. Okay. When he gives the check to the clerk, he just, gives it to him and the clerk says, what? You're taking it all out again? And then the author realizes that instead of $6, he has written 56 there. Another big mistake. But now he was too far gone. It was too much of a mistake. He was so totally confused that he felt now nobody is going to understand what I'm going through. So forget it now. And because all the clerks were looking at him in surprise. What procedure did the author have to follow to open the account? To open an account, the author had to meet the accountant, write the amount on a slip and sign his name in a book. What error did the author make in the check? Did he correct it? Instead of writing $6, the author wrote $56, but he did not correct his mistake. Reckless with misery, I made a plunge. Yes, the whole thing. You withdraw your money from the bank? Every cent of it. Are you not going to deposit any more? Said the clerk, astonished. Never. An idiot hope struck me that they might think something had insulted me while I was writing the check and that I had changed my mind. I made a wretched attempt to look like a man with a fearfully quick temper. So now he is reckless, he is careless, he is so miserable. He just says, now forget everything. And he makes a plunge, means a dive, and he says, forget everything. I want to remove the whole amount. So the clerk asks him, do you want to remove all your money? He says, yes, every cent. Now cent meaning how we have rupees and paise. Okay, in the US they have dollars and cents. 100 cents make a dollar. Okay, so he says you're not going to, never. Okay, because now he says no, let me go all out and pretend that I have been insulted by somebody and now I am very angry. Okay, the clerk prepared to pay the money. How will you have it? He says. So he's asking him, how do you want the money? Okay, whether when we go to the bank and they ask us, we are removing 1,000 rupees, so they ask us, do you want it in hundreds or 500s? Okay, so the clerk is asking him the same question. What? How will you have it? Oh, I caught his meaning and answered without even trying to think. In 50s. He gave me a $50 bill and the 6 he asked dryly. In 6s, I said. He gave it to me and I rushed out. As the big doors swung behind me, I caught the echo of a roar of laughter that went up to the ceiling of the bank. Since then, I bank no more. I keep my money in cash in my trousers pocket and my savings in silver dollars in a sock. So the author again is asking, did not understand what question was, how will you have it? When the accountant repeats the second time, he says, oh, he got his meaning and he's, without even thinking, he says, I want my money in 50s. Now, when you put only $50, can you get notes of 50s? You'll either have to get notes of 1, 5 or 10. But he now is, so miserable, he answers in 50s. So the clerk gives him a $50 bill or a note and then asks him very sarcastically, and the $6, how do you want that? He says in 6s. Now there are no $6 notes. See, the clerk gives him some money and he took it and he ran out of the bank out of total embarrassment. Now as the big doors of the bank started closing behind him, the author could hear an echo or a repeated roar of laughter that went to the ceiling or the roof of the bank. And he says since then, he doesn't bank anymore. He has never ever gone into a bank. He keeps his money as cash in his pocket of his trousers or his pants. And his savings, he puts in a silver dollar in a sock like this. Okay. The author of this humorous lesson, Stephen Leacock. Why did the author pretend to appear like a bad-tempered man? To hide his foolish mistake, he pretended he had been insulted and therefore he was very bad-tempered. What decision has the author taken after the episode at the bank? Not to bank anymore, to keep his money in his trouser pocket and his savings in silver dollars in a sock. Is the author's last decision wise? No, it's not wise, as money has to be collected in a bank, and also he should overcome his fear of banking. The author Stephen Leacock.